Problem number 10. Mrs. Koval lives 2 5/7 miles from MacArthur Elementary. She was on her way to work when she remembered she left her math workbook at home, so she drove 1 1/5 miles back home to get it. After getting the math workbook from home, she drove to MacArthur Elementary. What was the total distance in miles Mrs. Koval had driven when she finally reached MacArthur Elementary? So draw a picture. Tape diagrams aren't going to work in this one, or it's more difficult. So I'm going to draw a picture. So here's my home. I'm going to put an H for home, and then here's my school. I'm going to put an M for MacArthur. So Mrs. Koval lives 2 5/7 from MacArthur Elementary. So that's just giving me information. So let's keep going with the story. She was on her way to work when she remembered she left her math workbook at home. So she drove 1 1/5 miles back home to get it. So I'm driving back home. And they said I drove 1 1/5. Well, in order to drive back home, I had to actually drive to where I turned around, right? So if back home is 1 1/5 miles, going to that area that I stopped and turned around is also 1 1/5 miles. After getting the math workbook from home, she drove to MacArthur Elementary. So now I'm going from home all the way to MacArthur. So what was the distance to MacArthur from home? It was 2 5/7 miles. So I need to figure out my total distance. So I started out going 1 1/5 miles, turned back and went 1 1/5 miles. Then I drove all the way to school, which was 2 5/7 miles. All right, gonna separate whole numbers and fractions. 1 plus 1 plus 2, and then 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 5/7. Add my whole numbers. 1 plus 1 plus 2. 2 plus 2, 4. All right, I'm going to add my fifths. So I have 2/5 plus 5/7. Well, fifths and sevenths, they're not like units, so I can't add them. So I'm going to get a common denominator. And so the smallest common denominator they can get is 35. Yikes. 35 plus 35. So 5 times 7 gets me 35. So 2 times 7, because what I do in the denominator, I must do in the numerator. 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times 5 is 35. So what I do in the denominator, I must do in the numerator. 5 times 5 is 25. All right, whole number. So denominator stays the same. 14 plus 25 is, add 10, 35 plus 4, 39. Uh-oh, ran out of room. So now I have 4 plus, I've got 39 35ths in proper fraction. So let's get a mixed number. So 39 divided by 35, or how many 35s fit into 39, which is 1. I'm taking away the 35 from the 39, which is 4 left over. All right, 4 plus 1 is 5, and 4 35ths miles. And that is how far I drove when I forgot my math workbook at home. Make sure you showed all your work. The diagram really helps. If you don't draw the diagram and label how far you traveled, this problem became very, very difficult because people forgot the second 1 1/5.